Hello, everybody. Welcome to the fourth episode of the Clue Crew podcast. Once again, my name is Katie, and I'm here with Allison
Hey.
and Maddie.
Hi.
And we don't have a special guest this week, so it'll just be back to the three of us to discuss Trail of the Twister today. Now, I know this is not a fan favorite out of the series. I think it's one thing to enjoy the game, but do you guys think that it actually has the number one spot for anybody?
I don't think anyone would like claim this as like their number one. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is people out there, but I don't think that this would be like somebody's number one favorite game.
You just have so much to choose from, right?
Yeah. I'm like, would you really choose Shadow or like a Secret of the Scarlet Hand or like Shadow Ranch over this game? Like, come on.
Yeah,
There's a lot of better ones out there. Like, yeah.
If Trail of the Twister is your favorite game, let us know.
Please do. Yeah, prove us wrong. Let us
Yeah,
know.
seriously. I mean, I would genuinely be curious. Because there are things that I like about this game, and there are things that I don't like about this game.
Same.
So, what are your guys' thoughts?
Well, so okay, so for me, I feel like um with this game, like while I'm playing it, I'm having a good time, I'm enjoying it. I really love the atmosphere of this game. But as soon as you turn it off, I think it's like immediately forgettable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, I love like the music in the background. I feel like it's super cheery and whatnot. And like
Yeah.
I liked that when I was wandering around the farmhouse, but kind of after that, I just feel like there's not a lot of mystery there. Like I know things are breaking, but I feel like most of the time I'm just being given chores. And if you're not like super in the mood to play the game anyway, and then
Yeah.
all you're doing is like continual list of chores.
Chore
And I'm like,
simulator.
where are we going? And it really just feels like a continuous task list of things.
Yeah.
True.
That's probably my least favorite part of this game is that it really is. It's like chore simulator instead of actually solving a mystery. You kind of forget why you're there.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I forgot, like I remember that it has a ton of chores in it, and I forgot how much it did until the replay, and Debbie immediately is like, so here's what you're gonna do. And she lists out like 5 things. I was like, oh my god, this really is chore the game.
Yeah.
And it's also really horrible if you don't make note of what those chores are and you're playing on Senior Detective and then you're like, I have no memory as to what I was supposed to be doing.
No, you know what's horrible is when you play this game on Senior Detective. Period. End of sentence.
Yeah, the puzzles were kind of horrible, and I say it as someone who finds the puzzles the best part of most of the games, and I was angry.
I literally have never had a worse time playing a Nancy Drew game in my life. Oh my god, I think you could all tell with my Tumblr posts. I was literally losing my mind.
It was funny because we were going at like the exact same pace. So I was like, every time I logged into Tumblr and I was about to rant, you had already done it for me. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not alone in this feeling right now.
Oh my god, seriously, it was the worst.
Oh.
And it's weird because I know I've played it on Senior before because that's what I used to always do. You know, we kind of briefly talked about it for our Waverly podcast, how back in the day I would play the game initially on Junior Detective, but then I would immediately replay it, and on my replay I would do it on Senior. So I've obviously played it before, but I completely forgot that it was so terrible, or I would have never done it again.
I don't think I replayed it. Like, I think I've only played it once, and it was before I was playing everything on Senior Detective.
Oh, really?
So I think I've only done it as Junior Detective. And, like, so going into this, the only thing I remembered about it was that I was able to do it in one day, which, again, makes me think I was doing it as a junior detective.
Yeah.
And that I don't, like, that was it. Like, I don't remember anything else. Like, and that there was a twister involved, and, like, everything else was erased from my brain.
So this is kind of a random jumping to the end of the game note, but I love at the end when you're like unlocking the cellar or whatever. And
Mhm.
Nancy's,
Mm-hmm.
or not Nancy, Debbie is like, come on, Nancy, we're all counting on you. And then you unlock the door and she's like, good job. And I'm like, I unlocked a door.
Yeah, the whole ending sequence just seems a little bizarre to me. Like,
Yeah.
especially when Nancy's like running out in the storm and they're like, don't go. And she's like, no, I need to get the justice or whatever. And just like
Yeah.
drives out in the middle of the tornado.
Yes.
Oh,
I
it's so
also thought
embarrassing.
that was super weird.
Like, you've been here all of maybe 3 days, and like now you're just ready to throw caution to the wind.
Yeah.
Continual reckless driving. Also, just like as a side note, 90% of the people that were living here were still driving out every time there was a tornado because I crashed into all of them. And I was like, you all should not be on the road right now.
I
Honestly,
know.
that's the best part of the game.
Yeah, everybody talks about Nancy being a terrible driver, but we shouldn't be giving, free passes to all these other people on the road either. Like,
Mm-mm.
if
That's
you're
true.
coming their way, they're just gonna barrel right into you. They don't care.
When I first got on the road, because I had just seen someone's post about driving, I was like, I'm gonna try to drive like really efficiently again. So I was like, gotta stay in the right lane, go slowly. I got to like an intersection and I paused, and someone just rammed up behind me and threw me in the middle of the intersection, and I was hit by 3 cars and died. And I was like, screw this. This is not worth it.
And then there was one point where I was driving the Doppler, because when you have to drive it with Debbie and Scott that time, and I kept getting beat up. I was like, I am not even gonna make it. I was really stressing out.
The worst is when you get like pinned straight up and down in the Doppler and then you can't turn and you're just getting pushed along the road.
I hate the Doppler
Yes.
truck. I hate driving that thing. The fastest one is the pickup truck. Like that one actually drives the fastest, I've noticed.
That's true.
Oh, see, I just was like, I need a small car so that I can like zip around the curves. So I always drove Frosty's car.
I think the blue one is the best as far as control. It's the easiest to control.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
the pickup goes a little faster, if anybody was curious. But I don't envision many people replaying this game again soon.
Yeah.
So
Well,
actually,
okay.
no, go ahead.
Some good stuff though. I was about to say some good stuff though is I don't know about y'all, but like the TV with like changing the channels for whatever reason tickles me pink. It is literally my favorite part.
I barely
can
did
quote
it.
every single thing to a T.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
on the TV?
Yeah,
Yes.
on the TV.
Fixing the TV I did not enjoy, but
Oh
yes.
yeah, no, that sucks.
The ads and also the radio ads were my favorite.
Yes.
Like, oh yeah, I want to go around and say like we're lawyers all the time. I don't remember. Oh.
See, I
Yeah.
like the concept of the TV puzzle where you fix it, but it just hurts your eyes.
Yeah, it's not a good time.
It's just I don't think there's any real thought involved either is the other thing I don't like. Like you just gotta align it till it's right.
I
Yeah.
like puzzles like that.
I do. That's the thing is I do too, and it still frustrated me though.
The simpler the puzzle, the more I'm gonna like it. But yeah, no, Allison, I get what you mean. It was still kind of frustrating, but mostly for me, it was because it hurt my eyes.
Yeah.
Just having to look at so many colors all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I might have miscounted one every once in a while because I like saw a different color and that also was frustrating.
So on the note of the puzzles, were there any that you guys like super enjoyed?
The circuits are super fun. I love doing those.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I think I spent like an hour one night doing the circuits.
Yeah, man.
Like, I'm bored. Why not?
I know. See, that's another one that I enjoy because it is kind of mindless.
Yeah, that in Land Rush too. I don't know why.
I really liked Land Rush.
Mm-hmm.
But see, for me, the circuits stress me out because there's a time limit, and so it makes me
True.
anxious.
Yeah.
Like, the whole time I'm going so quickly, and then I'm so worried I'm gonna mess up, even though, like, it doesn't matter. But that's why I, like,
Yeah.
think it's less relaxing.
Yeah, I
I
get the
totally,
timer thing. The timer does stress me out a little bit.
yeah. And the first time I did it, I forgot about the timer. And when it went like did that crackling noise, I was like,
Yeah.
wait, what the heck? Why?
Yes, it's so freaky. Like when you don't realize that you messed up and then it's just like,
Yeah.
no. One thing about the weather balloons though, I find it kind of hard to double check your work.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I'm just clicking, I'm doing it, and then I just immediately go to submit it. Like as soon as I have them all placed down and I don't bother to check
True.
it.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have time to either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
That
like, it's
too.
good enough. Check.
Oh, but something that I thought was interesting that I wanted to comment on regarding the weather balloons is the note that Chase has written right there next to the circuit board station. And like this note has already been there since before he meets you. So he just has this note sitting there where he's just like, hey, whoever you are, I'll pay you some pennies if you do these circuit boards for me.
Listen, my real problem with that is where did he get all those paw pennies?
Yeah, that's true.
It's
He's
a
stealing
lot
them.
of them.
Stealing them. Oh.
Petty theft.
The real thing that's happening is, before Nancy had got there, he's just trying to pawn off like these circuit boards on everybody else. He's like, hey, listen, I'll just pay you. And they're like, dude, no, those are fake money. Get the crap out of here.
Yeah, I know, right? But I have to say it because I can't go this podcast without saying how much I love Chase. I adore him.
Yes!
He is like top 3 favorite characters in the series for me. Like I'm dead serious. I adore
love him.
Chase.
I can get on board with that.
Weirdly enough, he's like one of the few Nancy Drew characters that I would seriously consider marrying if he were real. Like, not because I'm super attracted to his 3D model, but just because I love him. I love him. He is so sweet and precious.
He is really sweet.
My baby.
Just wholesome. Like he's not there for any like bad reasons. Also, bless his heart for thinking the stick he stole was gonna show him some oil.
I
Just
know.
trying to help the fam.
I know. Like even the one semi-shady thing he did was like done for the best reasons possible.
Yeah.
And you're
then
like,
he still wanted to give it back at the end.
I know. He's like, I'm gonna apologize. I don't want to upset my mama. I love him so, so, so much. This might be kind of an odd revelation for most people. But I actually am extremely fond of the cast of characters in this game.
I am too. I forgot about how much I actually really do enjoy everyone.
Really? Cool.
Yeah.
I honestly thought I was alone in this. Because for me, I think it stems from the fact that I wrote like an AE, back when AEs were the big thing. I wrote an AE for this game and I spent so much time like writing the characters and developing them. And, when you start to write characters, you kind of get into their heads a little bit. And by the end of writing my story, I just felt like I got to know them all. And it was really great. They're so much fun to write for.
Yeah, I honestly really like Debbie's character a lot. I think she's super sweet. And yeah, she's like super chill. I just really enjoyed her the second time, or not second time, but whatever time this was, playing this game. I was like, yeah, no. You know what? I like you a lot more. And same with Scott. I remember like really disliking him. And I don't know. There was something about his like crabbiness that I was like, yeah, I can get on board with that.
I really enjoyed Scott's crabbiness for sure.
Yeah.
I like that you could be like really kind of sassy to him and he just like didn't put up with it.
Yeah.
Yes. One thing though that has always kind of bugged me is how much you always hear about Scott's temper and how he throws these tantrums and has these meltdowns, and you never actually see him blow out during the game.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, that
Like
is true. Like,
when this game was first coming out, I was fully expecting it. I was like waiting for Scott's breakdown the whole entire time, and then it never happened. All we get is just like smug remarks and general crabbiness.
I mean, I guess you could consider the confrontation at the end. He does kind of go off a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. But at the same time, like, that's the culprit monologue. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not having a tantrum, is he a culprit?
I know, right? This.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I was just saying, I think if anything, maybe they were trying to hold off on it so that it didn't make him too suspicious.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, yeah, I don't know. Like you said, you can't. If you're ranting, you're clearly the culprit, and it's your monologue.
Yeah.
That's actually something that I've always relied on when it comes to mysteries stuff. Is if a character is revealed to have done like a really, really shady, underhanded thing, like halfway through the narrative, you know they ain't the culprit. Like,
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
that's that's my strategy. You gotta find the most obvious suspect and then eliminate them.
What
And
is
then
that? Someone had posted this on Tumblr. I don't remember who, but it's
the
a
most
quote from-
medium.
Yes.
Yes.
I was like, that is so accurate. One of
Is
most
it-
medium suspect.
Yeah. Yeah. You check out the most likely and then the least likely, and then you're like, okay, who am I left with, and who is the game trying to gloss over a little bit? It worked great for me until Her Interactive started having like multiple characters be the culprits, and honestly, that's kind of why I have beef with Lie, is because it ruined my streak of guessing what was going on.
Well, that just about covers everything I had for Trail of the Twister.
And scene.
Well, since I have been thinking about Joe Hardy lately, I just want to talk about how much I enjoyed them in this game, both of the Hardy Boys.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I love a game with the Hardy Boys. Like,
Yes.
you can't go wrong.
You cannot go wrong. Well, actually, you can because I started being really turned off with how Her Interactive was writing them towards the end. But for the most part, man,
Yeah.
you can't go wrong.
Mm-hmm. I just like that, like, they were also trying to kind of call Nancy. It was great. Like a little flip of the roles there.
Yeah.
Right, like we're solving a mystery and they're solving a mystery. It was really cool.
Again, I can't remember who had mentioned this, but I love that post that someone said about like them calling up Nancy and her just pulling some bullcrap out of her butt. When you try behind the door and look underneath the screen, oh wow, no
Yes.
context and nothing.
I know, it's so perfect. I actually made the original post, but the brilliant add-on was from the Down Low.
Ah, yes. Excellent.
It was like so perfect. I was so happy when I saw that she added that because that was literally exactly what I was meaning with my post. It was so perfect.
My favorite phone call that I had with them this game was when I called them and they said something about, like, we talked for a little bit, but then I called them immediately after and I just got them going, oh no, Nancy, she just hung up with us. This must be a butt dial, and then hung up.
What?
Yes! Yeah, it was like right after, and they go, Nancy, again? This must have been a butt dial.
Oh, I feel like I missed something great.
And the, like, you could hear like rumbling in the background, and then it just click.
I'm gonna have to freaking reinstall this game now.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just because there was no other like things to talk to them about. And the only reason I was calling them back to back is because there had been some that like they weren't prompting the dialogue options unless I hung up.
Right.
So I just like backlogged all these convos that I had to have, and the game just like I don't know what it was how I triggered it. But yeah, it was great.
That is wonderful. I am constantly thirsty for Hardy Boys content, so I'm gonna take like every last drop that I can get from the games.
I hear that, man. I hear that.
But you know, that's actually kind of like what I meant with the other post that I made about how some of your phone calls with them in this game are just big run-on conversations. That's like one unending string of dialogue. But it's fun. I wish you could talk to them about more things, but the attention to detail and the strings of dialogue are is absolutely brilliant.
Mm-hmm. I also really liked the PG Krollmeisters dialogue that were really just like long rants
Yes.
over the phone.
I never called him.
Really?
I talked to him like the one time in the beginning. And I
Mhm.
tried to call him a second time, but I was just so irritated with him after like 2 seconds that I hung up.
I just because he tells you like these little snippets about like the things that he's inventing, and it's just like such chaotic nonsense, like along with the channels and the television stuff. Like he mentions his whole line of salad dressings that he has
Uh-huh.
on the side,
And
Oh,
the
yeah.
salad cannon thing.
along with the salad cannon, which every time it would like boom in between like the ads. It's a great 10 out of 10. So I'm like, I just want to know more about how this man got into inventing and what he's doing in his free time.
Right. I always had this weird headcanon that I came up with a friend of mine back in the day that he was related to Laurie Gerard somehow, and that's what the G was in his name.
Oh, nice.
I don't know why. Just because, we know he's like super rich and Laurie's rich.
Mm-hmm.
I'd buy that.
Yeah.
I liked all the meteorology in this game.
Yeah?
Yeah. But I'm a huge slut for science, so I'll take
See,
it. But yeah, I do remember like getting really hyped up on like all the meteorology stuff, and I was like, maybe I'll be a meteorologist in 2010. That did not happen.
as far as some puzzles that I did actually like, Allison, you say you're always a slut for science. I'm always a slut for fit all of these items into the box with no space left over.
Yes.
So I did enjoy the candy display.
Yeah, that was great.
Yes.
And actually, in a weird way, I enjoy the siren layout too on the chart.
I do too. I was getting like I remember getting frustrated with it, and then I like stepped away for a little bit, and I went back, and I literally just sort of switched to siren like circles. And I was like, oh, okay, we're good now.
Yeah. My only complaint is it's really hard to see sometimes, like with the colors are so kind of lightly colored, that like
That's
I'll just
true.
be missing like a little sliver of the map. But yeah, you're right. I walk away and come, and I'm like, oh, it's these two.
Yep.
Okay, what was your least favorite though? Just because I feel like it could be cathartic.
The
Because
transmission.
Yeah.
On
Oh,
Junior
yeah.
Detective, I actually like that puzzle. I'll be straight up. On Senior, it was the worst hellhole that I have ever, ever, ever had to climb out of in my life, as far as puzzles go.
So I saw your post about it like right before I did it. And I don't know if I just got lucky, but it did not stress me out that much.
Dude, I literally had it pulled up for about 2 hours.
Really?
I
Oh
am
my gosh.
serious. I was on it for 2 hours. I was like taking breaks here and there to rant on Tumblr and distract my mind with other stuff. But I kept going back to it. Literally, that's about how long it took me. And even then, I had to get a partial spoiler.
That was me on the sprinkler system puzzle. I
Oh
think
my
I was
God.
there for 2 hours on the sprinklers.
Yeah, I
and
don't
by
like
the
that
end
one
of it,
either.
I
I
was
gave
like,
up. I straight up gave up. I was like, no, I'm over this.
I started going like literally like I would pick one and then eliminate everything else that would like result and then like kept going and then I'd be like, okay, that one can't be it. And like literally just trial and error by like brute force every single possibility.
I didn't even
And it
know
took
there was a strategy to brute force that puzzle.
it was horrible. I don't recommend it. It took me hours. I'm scarred. And when I finished, I felt no sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. If
That
I'm
was
being perfectly honest, well, when I got to the sprinkler part, I was home alone because my husband was out of town, and I was like, I'll just get like a couple drinks in me and play Nancy Drew,
oh no.
And I got a little tipsy, and I was playing it. I was like cursing up a storm. I was like, I can't do it. And I
Yeah.
got the spoilers for it, and then I fell asleep on it. So I've grown up, and that's what happens now when I have more than 2 drinks.
Yeah, I was really like, I'm ready to chuck this at the wall, except for the fact that it's my laptop.
Yep. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, I also felt no sense of accomplishment at the end of the transmission puzzle. But as far as the sprinklers, I also hate that puzzle, and I also took a while on it, but it wasn't as bad for me as the transmission or the renogram.
Yeah, the renogram also took a while.
I seriously had to restart the renogram like 2 or 3 times. It was horrible.
Yeah, I also did, because I think we had the same thinking of like, oh, you have to do this and this, and then you make like one judgment call because you can't actually like say for certain about a number.
Yes!
Yeah.
Yes! Oh, it pisses me off. So my strategy was generally going to be like, let me look at the numbers all the way, you know, continually, and just place the ones that have to go in a certain spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So that's what I kept trying to do, but I guess I was like making mistakes along the way because I would still end up trapping myself in the corners.
Yep.
Somehow. It was that, oh, Maddie, I don't know if you had the same issue in the same spot, but it was right up there with like 57 and 56 that literally...
Yeah. And then the 60 and the 64, like the crossover that happens in the middle. Yeah.
Oh,
when you were posting, and I think you had like a tag, and I was like, oh yeah, we're literally doing the same thing right now, and we're both
that was
having the same experience.
But that was the one spot every single time. I just couldn't get it. It took me forever.
Yeah.
And then the bottom right corner as well with all the 30s. That one took me a while too.
Yep. I thought I was done once I fixed the 60 issue, and then I got to the 30 issue.
Yeah.
I was just like placing them haphazardly. I was like, no, this is obvious here. And then I was like, oh no. No.
And meanwhile, Frosty is passive aggressively snarking at you the whole time.
I should have muted him. It was bad. I was like, I'm about to fight you. Also, I'm still really angry at you for your directions that you were giving me while we were driving. Like, you only told me when I was going the wrong way. There was no instructions about turn left, turn right. I just turned one way and then backseat screaming.
Yeah, dude. I just, for some reason, happened to remember the exact pull-off that you had to go to for that part from the last time I played, I guess. So I knew where to go for that one, but it was the second one where you're in the Doppler with Scott and Debbie that I had no idea where I was going. They don't give you any indication whatsoever where they want you to go until you've been driving around in circles and they're like, oh, just pull off in one of the turnoffs or whatever. I was just like, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
If I'm being perfectly honest, I forgot that Frosty was a character until this moment.
You actually seriously don't talk to him much.
No, you don't. He's barely there.
It's really underdeveloped, which is kind of sad. Like,
I know.
I feel like he'd have a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, and he's hilarious.
Yeah, it sucks that we don't get to talk to him more in the game. I had more of an impression of him than I realized. You know, like playing it back when I was younger, I felt like we talked to him more than we actually did.
Yeah.
How do y'all feel about that creepy photo of him at the end?
Oh my god, the creepy photo of all of them, honestly.
I wasn't sure if you guys would know what I'm talking about, but there's like one particular shot of Frosty with a camera out in front of him, and he actually has a toothy grin and is staring at the camera. It's really, really unnerving.
Yeah.
How about Pa? We haven't talked about Pa yet.
That's true. Pa's great.
Pa is great. Who was it? I think it was actually it's Locke Charmstrong who was saying no Pa slander. We do not accept Pa slander here. He is a precious, wonderful man who deserves the world.
My favorite was someone posted something about only getting like 1 paw penny for returning the thing, and in her tag she was like, it looks like you chose the dialogue where you were mean to Pa.
Yes!
You deserve only 1 paw penny.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was great. I was like, oh, you're getting called out. Although, to be fair, listen, not to slander Pa, but Pa.
You're walking dangerous ground, Maddie.
what are you doing with your paw pennies? This cannot be a good business strategy for you.
Yeah.
I'm
they have
just
literally
concerned.
no value whatsoever.
That's not true. It seems to me that the entire town has adopted the paw pennies monetary
True.
system because everyone offers you them. They're hidden everywhere, which implies that people have them and kind of leave them around. His whole store is run on them, which, like, there's no money involved. Also, how are you carrying around your hundreds of thousands of paw pennies to buy anything substantial?
This is a great point. Pa has monopolized the money market in this town.
Like, why
Although,
have we all accepted it?
to be fair though, I don't think that anything in his store is paid for with paw pennies except for the candy bars.
And the mystery item.
Oh yeah, the mystery item. That's true. But I remember Nancy said something like the Chase team has a line of credit set up with Pa.
Yeah.
That's true.
So that's what you use to actually buy stuff is real money. But the candy section and the mystery item are based on paw pennies.
That can't be good for business.
I just like the cost of minting them seems excessive. Also, I feel like you're forging money even if it's not in a good thing. And Pa, you could run into some legal troubles. And remember, then you should contact the people who are lawyers.
Yeah, I know. It's true. We don't want that for him.
We don't. We want you to be okay, Pa. Also, Nancy kept bringing up Ma all the time. And I was like,
I know.
You've already read the article. You know for a fact that Ma is not here. Why are you making him admit to this?
Yes, it's so true.
To be fair, didn't this game come out before Shadow at the Water's Edge?
It came out directly before Shadow at the Water's Edge.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe they were just trying to ease us in on Nancy's utter lack of tact when it comes to dead relatives or kids.
Yeah, man, fair enough. This was a dark time for Nancy.
Yeah, she's just like, hey, tell me more about your dead family.
Yeah, she wasn't gonna learn about hers for a couple more games.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And then one of the iconic posts from the Clue Crew past, I think it might have been Karen. It was the one where she quoted Nancy talking to Scott, and she's like, do you feel guilty for not putting out the siren alert that killed Ma? And she's like, Jesus, Nancy, you sociopath.
Like, what are you hoping to get out of that question?
Right?
No, I don't.
But I love Scott's response to that, though. I loved his response because if I remember correctly, he just sassed her right back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, there's no other way of getting around that. You would have to be sassy with a remark like that. No, I enjoyed it. What are you, idiot?
Highlight of my career.
Another note on Pa. Mm-hmm. What do we think his first name is?
Grand.
That took me way too long to put together.
Grand. That was good.
That's his stage name.
Because I was going for the fact that we know his last name, but I kind of like Grandpa.
It's official. We don't need to continue on this pitch. What is his last name, actually? Because I don't feel like I caught that.
His last name is Ochs. It's in the article.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they mentioned that his wife, known as Ma, was Betsy Oaks.
Trying to think if we could work in a pun, because I feel like they're fond of that, but nothing's coming. I just saw while I was scrolling a picture of Frosty with the camera on my feed in the corner of my eye, and like I literally jumped.
The exact one that I talked about?
Yes. That was really scary. And I scrolled back up and I was like, oh, it's the photo.
Oh, now that I brought it up, it's gonna haunt us.
It's gonna haunt everybody.
That's crazy. I didn't even see that I didn't even see that picture in the entire live blog of Trail of the Twister.
Well, because there's so many posts, so I just typed in Trail the Twister. I'm gonna reblog it as "Be Scared" #Clue Crew podcast without context.
I feel like this is always our go-to when we run out of things to talk about with the game.
Yeah.
We just go to Tumblr, let them give us
Like,
topics.
what's on the memes? That wasn't a good way of phrasing that.
What's on the memes?
What's on the meme?
Oh, Maddie, you did make a good point in your post that I never even thought about before about Nancy, like, doing literal electrical work while it's thunderstorming.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the times they were just like, go out in the middle of the storm and do something that probably should not be done right now.
Her Interactive is a group of non-storm chasers trying to write about storm chasing, and so they don't know anything about it. They're just like, it's fine, they're supposed to do this. They're supposed to go out in the middle of a storm with no safety precautions.
My other thing that kills me is like her Interactive. It's not just that it blew off the wall, but they felt the need to animate the intense fire behind the outlet.
Yeah.
Before we fix it. And like, just in case it wasn't already questionable enough. Oh, I also keep seeing photos of the mouse puzzle, and that I did not enjoy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. It just, like, I feel like it took a really long time. And I also don't feel like I had any good strategy for it.
Yeah, it does get tedious after a while. And I think it's just the fact that it's so repetitive because you have to do it 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That one didn't bother me as much, but, like, I feel like they've had that same, style of puzzle in another game, and it was done better, but I don't know. I still liked it.
But whoever posted the thing about, like, the fact that you can just carry the mice around with for hours, I had the same experience because I forgot that I had been carrying them, and all of a sudden they started squeaking, and, like, Nancy just exclaims out of nowhere, "Oh, the poor mice, I should let you guys out." And I was like, oh, it's been, like, a hot minute. And just, like, got them in her backpack along with everything else.
She's carrying I like it. I like the image of her just, like, holding the cage in her hand, just, like, going around. Hey guys,
having conversations.
Have a car. Yeah. You want a Cocoa Kringle or anything like that? Can I get you anything?
Oh yeah, and Tumblr user, again another one I don't know how to say. It's like Irina Clockworker or something like that. Where she pointed out how Debbie says, "Why would anyone around here buy dried corn?" And they literally have like dried corn hanging everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah. Those were never explained either, the dried corn piles.
Yeah, I know. That's always been a confusing plot point for me.
Because
I always just kind of assumed it was like they were trying, like, it was Scott trying to, like, draw mice in.
Like, was he lying about being allergic to mice then?
I don't know. It was not clear.
And then the mice don't even like the dried corn.
Yeah, I know. That's the other thing that's always bothered me. It's true. Like, they won't even...
They won't eat it.
Take it.
They're picky.
Yeah.
They want cheese-flavored candy instead.
Mm-hmm.
What must that taste like?
That is not candy.
I really liked the Debbie, oh, I see what you did there, after she was so hyped for the candy. And was, like, betrayed.
Mm-hmm. Nancy, this is cheese. What am I supposed to do with cheese?
I just love that, like, every single character, like, gets pissed at you for offering cheese.
And you're like, wow, here I was doing you a favor.
You're being nice, offering you a nice cheesy snack. Honestly, I would be happy to say yes to cheese.
Yeah.
I know. Me too.
Abrupt topic change, not related to anything. But the last, like, setup, even before you get to breaking into the cellar and what, but deciphering Scott's bizarre code system on his calendar, who is that for?
That's a really good question.
That is a good question.
Why did he do that? I mean, it's clearly top secret stuff. I don't get it.
Don't you just know the location of, like, where you're going?
Right.
Wouldn't remember the windmill be much more efficient?
Remember the windmill.
Then, I mean, just in your own head, not even making a note of it, because these elaborate are you that prone to prefer to forgetfulness? And if you are, do you really think you're going to easily decipher this code that you've left yourself?
Right.
Because this took a lot of dedication of referencing the charts, coming up with this convoluted puzzle, then buying yourself a calendar that you're not going to use for any other purpose than putting random letters on it.
Yeah.
And then referencing the laptop in the basement. What if the pictures got kicked off the laptop and they were re-uploaded in a different order?
I
Your
know,
whole
right?
thing would be busted.
Any number of things could go wrong with this plan. On top of the fact that it doesn't make sense in the first place.
Yeah. I was gonna say, that one just irritated me because I feel like I had put so much work, and then when you get the final, like, letters, I didn't even put together that it was intentionally for the photos. I actually had to look something up so that, to trigger what was happening, because you just get those random letters, and I was like, this doesn't mean anything
Yeah.
to me.
So, as far as the actual puzzle solving itself, in hindsight, I actually think it's a pretty cool puzzle because it's really in depth. But I also think it's kind of awful.
It's a lot of back and forth. None of it makes any sense to me, and
Yeah.
I wasn't satisfied when I prompted the dialogue to actually find Scott. It just, because it didn't click in my brain what I was doing. I just felt like I was following some random scavenger hunt, and I didn't understand. I usually like having some kind of sense of what I'm doing, and I just didn't have that while I was trying to go through it. But you're right, I definitely liked how elaborate it was. It just wasn't satisfying.
Yeah, and like you said, it is a little inconvenient just because of how many different things you have to keep referencing. Now we get to just take pictures with our phones so that we can keep it in memory, but yeah, the interesting thing about that puzzle is that I feel like there's multiple ways you can interpret it too, which can screw you over, because I did that a couple times. Like, I had to quote unquote solve that puzzle about 3 different times because I was doing it by month. But if you do it by month, then the numbers and letters end up being in the wrong order.
I was doing that too.
Oh, I don't know who made this post, but I wanted to shout out the old classic that somebody screenshotted the end picture of Scott doing his community service and talking about Nancy laughing derisively as she takes the picture. Say cheese, asshole.
I adore like any event and letters when you have like a picture of the culprit for whatever reason. It's the best. It's the best visual.
I also love by Punchy LaRue plays Nancy Drew, where it has the college paper, and he's the front page, and she's just like, what the fuck is this college paper that highlights their fired professors picking up trash? Because it really is. He's just out there with like the scandal rocks the green skies. Also, yeah, all the other article things are great. Like the goose that laid the golden yacht. What is that supposed to be about?
That's a good question.
Shave? Try sandblasting on page 16? I need to know more.
Yeah, I would like to know more about the sandblasting one. That's a little...
Whoever was writing their throwaway lines in, like, every single aspect of this game that didn't involve direct plot was great.
Yes. Including...
Like,
that's what I was about to say! Go ahead, Allison.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say with the sirens, the little like sticky notes are so good.
My favorite is the one that's just my favorite is the one that's like, this is just a note on the left.
Yep. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Also, you guys might not know anything about this, and it could just be like my memory failing me, but do you have any idea if there's a dialogue option that we can talk to Frosty about the German car that he has the article of?
I never got one.
I didn't get one either, and I looked at the car pretty early.
Me too, because I felt like I remembered from years back actually having that conversation with him, because he talked about, yeah, it's so great, I'm gonna go for a test drive.
Are you sure you're not maybe thinking of the haunted carousel.
I could be, but
there's
I don't
also
know.
a fancy car there that I feel like
That's true.
they talked
Yeah, and
about.
Nancy was like really coming down on her, be like, "Why do you have this?" And I think someone made a post being like, "Maybe she's just into cars, Nancy. It's not that weird."
You're right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason I thought I had a distinct memory of talking to Frosty about the car, but it could, like I said, I could be crazy.
I mean, it could exist.
You're right. You're right, because I remember him saying something about like driving Laurie Gerard in it or something like that, like in his fantasy.
Yes, right? You are absolutely right. He mentions Laurie Gerard.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not crazy. Good. That makes me feel better.
Now I remember it.
But now I want to know how to trigger it.
Yeah, I have no idea. I just feel like I could not trigger any conversations with Frosty at all.
Yeah, I couldn't either. I seriously only talked to him like 3 times. I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, on weird like dialogue things, Nancy also, I feel like, was coming real hard on the fact that her GPS was programmed to kill her by giving her the wrong directions, and I kind of was just thinking the whole time, Nancy, have you ever not had a GPS malfunction? Like,
I know.
I use my GPS and it tries to, I think, send me over the road a few times.
I know, that's a really good point. She is so dead set that it was intentional, but also, have you considered that maybe it's faulty?
And she just brings it up to everyone. It's another one of those, I need to have this conversation with you right now, and you're going to hear what I have to say.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and what was up with that weird side plot of Frosty selling the video footage?
I still don't understand that. I guess he just wanted to make some money off the side, and it's not as easy if all of yours for research purposes. So Debbie was being cool with it, but I don't know.
Yeah, and so, okay, so that photographer or whatever was paying Frosty to let her use his footage, right? And then Brooke or whoever was paying Scott to sabotage the team. So who did the money in the metal boxes belong to?
I thought it was Scott's.
I did too, but then...
See, I thought it was Frosty.
Right, because isn't there the whole plot about, like, not the plot, but the scratches on his arm, and Nancy's like, you got the box of money from the rose bush.
Mm-hmm. What confused me there was that he was selling them to another photographer, because that is plagiarism on that other photographer's behalf. And so I didn't understand why selling them to that photographer was helping Frosty. If it had been like a journalist or something, that would have made sense.
Well, that's why I was confused about it, because when you talk to Frosty, he goes on this rant about how it's really hard, to make your name as a photographer, and I just wanted to help this girl out, which I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you're not so bad, but also are you hiding something because that's not very in character?
And why do you want to help the stranger out by giving them credit for your work?
Right. It just doesn't seem very like him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, because for some reason I always wanted to make the assumption that the money boxes were for Scott too. But with the whole thing with Frosty's arm being scratched up in the bush, I feel like they were probably for Frosty. Oh, and there's that whole thing where the agricultural team or whatever is gonna eradicate the prairie dogs. And so the solution is to remove them from their patch and move them to a patch that's like 3 feet to the left.
Away.
Oh my god, for real.
Like, they just don't want them on that particular spot? Is that the case?
I also was kind of offended as like a science person, because I was thinking, isn't this interfering with your experiments here if they're supposed to be growing naturally? You're moving the prairie dogs out of the way.
Yeah.
But then again, I guess it could also just have been a growing thing. My favorite part about that whole interaction is that you go to Chase and he's like, oh yeah, listen, I've got something already cooked up for you.
Yeah, I know.
Here's the prairie dog vacuum.
Also, I love that that's like the humane thing to do is stuff these rodents have into a vacuum. So humane.
Yeah.
Seriously.
The ride of their lives. I can just see a little prairie dog like face like being whooshed up a tube.
Any other plot points that were confusing?
It's so hard. Even scrolling through like this walkthrough, all I can see are all of the chores we did.
That's all there is to talk about, right?
Honestly, that's like the entire game, though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I will say I really love the interior of the farmhouse. I think it's super cute.
Yeah.
I do too. No, that is the thing about this game. Like, as much as it's not the best game and the puzzles are over the top, I will say the atmosphere of this game is 5 stars.
I
really
agree.
enjoy it.
I agree.
Also, I think I'm partly biased because since I'm from Arizona, it's sunny 300 days out of the year. So, like, the fact that there's some weather, I'm like, ooh, wow, what is this?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I really enjoy the atmosphere of this game. But I feel like I say that every week, and I feel like I'm gonna continue saying that every week. I usually like the atmospheres better than the gameplay of these games.
That's true.
And it's the ones that I enjoy both equally that are my favorites.
True.
Anyway, go ahead, Maddie.
I was just gonna say, I feel like it was a good switch after Shadow at Water's Edge, which is just you're constantly on edge of a nervous breakdown the entire game, to be just kind of wandering around, enjoying the like happy-go-lucky farmhouse experience. It was great. It was kind of calming and relaxing, and not a lot of high pressure until you were doing one of the puzzles. That was the only time that I got lost.
You know, it's actually a little frustrating. Because of how much potential the atmosphere in this game had, and then this is what they ended up doing with it. It just makes me wish that there had been more substantial mystery and more substantial gameplay to it so that I could fully enjoy it. Enjoy those happy farmhouse vibes. Yeah,
I mean, I think you guys said it best when it was like, or I think, Katie, it was you had mentioned last time, like, it's clear that energy had all gone towards Shadow at the Water's Edge, and not so much towards Trail of Twister.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case. I mean, when you compare them both in length and in like attention to detail, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in Trail of the Twister. I'm so sorry, I keep interrupting you.
It's okay, you're good.
There's so much stuff in Trail of the Twister that you can clearly tell is just kind of filler. Like the fact that they do have you do the mice thing like 4 different times.
It's also very linear, which I think in a lot of these games is another implication that it was kind of rushed because they just wanted you to have tasks to do to, like you said, make it filler and have it fill out the time. And that's a good way of doing it because it kind of just gives you, okay, you have to do all of these things, but there's no kind of nuance to why you're doing them. They're just kind of chucked at you.
Wow, that's a really apt description of this game.
Yeah.
It's like I'm with you. You get a puzzle and you get a puzzle.
Yep. You get a chore.
Everyone gets a chore.
Yeah, I love how before Debbie even meets you, she just leaves you a note and is like, hey, do this and do this and do this and do this. And it's like, I haven't even seen you face to face yet. Like, calm down.
Yeah.
I still love the fact that somebody went in on the Her Interactive website and added learn to budget onto the features for this game.
Yeah.
I just think it's so funny. Like, that's one of the best things that you're gonna get out of this game.
I did enjoy that. I kind of forgot that was the thing you had to do.
It took me an embarrassingly long time to figure it out.
It just was hard to keep track of all the different options that you had, and I kept being convinced I didn't need to write it down, and was like, I can keep it in my brain. And
same. Yeah, no, I did the exact same thing, but I did have fun with it because it's a very active kind of puzzle. You know, like you're still getting to click around and look at things and interact with the environment, you know, rather than it just being one static screen that you have to do this and do this to solve the puzzle.
Yeah, and as we all know, the only puzzle that can pull off the static screen
is anonograms.
Disagreement.
That also was what is bringing these puzzles down. We were coming off such a puzzle high from last week.
Right, Maddie was still on her nonogram high.
It's like, what is this sprinkler system?
Filth.
Exactly.
Oh, I do also like the thing in the cornfield. I generally like all of the puzzles in the games that are like the reflecting light.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Those are so fun to me.
They're so satisfying.
I have a good time with them. No, I'm sorry. I just got this.
Sorry, what?
I'm sorry. I just saw your post on Tumblr with the frosty picture.
So good.
What happened was I re-logged to my main, and I was like, I wonder if no one saw it. And so I double checked, and I was like, oh, that's where it went. It catches you. You're scrolling, and he looks you dead in the eye. And
It's really funny. Being scared.
The last however many minutes is just us laughing at this frosty image.
His bald head is like so unnerving in that shot.
And the camera that it's just so far away. The whole angle of this.
The fact that you can see the shape and curvature of each and every tooth in his mouth.
Also, his tongue kind of hanging out.
Also, his head looks very like oblong in this shot
It does.
too.
Oh yes, like deformed.
He's not wet either, and you can clearly see that the camera lens and everywhere else it's raining.
His wrist like cocked at a weird backwards angle.
The slight cheek dimple.
His eyebrows lifted in that weird way that expresses not quite excitement, but like he's putting on a mask of excitement.
I'm
Yeah,
having such a good time.
he's posing.
How one pupil is like cross-eyed and the other one is normal.
One is staring directly into your soul.
Another staring directly into his nose.
He has no boogers. I will say one thing that I still stick with is Nancy sounded like she was offended that she might be played by Pa in a wig in the play. And I feel like she is spitting in the face of a true honor.
I know, right?
That is the best praise / award you could ever be given, is to be played by Pa in a wig.
Give this old man some happiness, Nancy.
Yeah, exactly.
So if Pa's playing her, who is
Who's-
he talking about Ma?
Who's playing Pa?
Yeah, exactly. So he had trauma of that conversation.
I say that as part of Scott's community service, he also was forced to partake in the play hours. So
Gonna play
he
Pa.
is Pa. It leads to the most interesting performance the town has ever seen. Yeah.
I also love how apparently that tornado at the end only gives you time to try 3 different keys before it like suddenly pummels everybody.
Mine didn't even do that for me this time. I put in 1 key, and if it was not the right key, we all died.
Really?
I think it was because I was struggling with my trackpad to click on the key.
Gotcha.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so it was faulty of that, but I felt really offended when the key would go on the lock, and I couldn't even turn it, and then they'd be like, we all died.
That tornado was coming at you with his
It was real fast.
he was pounding his fist, man. He was ready to fight.
You hesitated.
I won't hesitate, bitch. Anyway,
Great Jack.
So, do you guys want to give any parting thoughts on Trail of the Twister, like overall perceptions? No?
It was here. We came.
Yeah.
We saw. Wait, no. What was I going with this? Oh yes, we came. We saw, and we chored.
True.
The end.
True. Allison?
Not the worst game, but definitely not even in the.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Again, I like the Happy Farmhouse vibes, and I like the music that adds to that. I have a very special and dear place in my heart for the cast of this game and all that they are, especially Chase.
Chase is a treasure.
My baby Chase. I hate most of the puzzles. I hate the fact that it's just one linear track of tasks and chores that are given to you by Debbie. And that you kind of forget why you're there and what mystery you're solving after a while. I think that'll do it. All right, sorry, Clue Crew, we didn't have that much to say with this game. I hope you will forgive us.
If you need a laugh, just go look at the Frosty photo for like 20 minutes straight.
Yes, that's true. But next week, we will be rejoined to talk about Stay Tuned for Danger, which hopefully we will have more to say. I think Maddie will have plenty to say on the topic of Dwayne Powers, at least.
I'm so ready.
If nothing
My favorite
else.
person.
All right, well, I'm going to let you guys go for the night. Thank you once again for joining me this week. Hopefully we get some entertaining content out of this mess of a podcast.
Thank you.
It'll be an interesting one.
It will.
Okay.
All right, well, have a great rest of your night.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye. Good night.